All right, so this video is just a quick review of how to solve an equation when you have variables on both sides. So looking at the equation that's on the screen right now, you'll notice that there's both 9x and there's both 7x, okay? So the first thing we have to do is we actually have to get the variables to one side of our equation. It doesn't matter which side you move them to, but they have to be on one side. So I always tell students, I said make the suggestion, move the smaller one. So you have 9x and 7x. So 7x is the smaller one. The reason why I say move the smaller one is that you deal with positive numbers. So it's a positive 7x. So the way we're going to move it is we're going to subtract it. So minus 7x. Okay, and then whatever you do to one side, make sure you do the other. And notice you need to line it up with the other x term. X's go with x's, numbers go with numbers. All right, and then line across. And now we're going to simplify straight down. Okay, so 9x minus 7x gives us 2x. We didn't do anything with that 12, so bring down minus 12. These 7s are gone. 7 minus 7 is 0. And we still have 14. All right, so now the x's are on one side of our equation. We've dealt with that. Okay, the next thing I do is everything else has to go to the other side of our equation. So we need to get rid of that 12 next. So now we're kind of back to a two-step equation. We can get rid of that 12 pretty easily. It's a negative 12, so the inverse would be positive 12. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Okay, leftovers, that's a 0 pair, so we still have 2x. And 14 plus 12 gives us 26. And last step, we can get rid of that 2 by dividing. So that brings our answer to x is equal to 13. Okay, so not too bad. It's just a little bit more steps than the previous questions. Okay, once you're right off to the side, this is the first kind of when you're approaching these questions. This is tip number 1. Okay, just a suggestion that I make. I try to always move the smaller variable. All right, so that's tip number 1. Move the smaller variable. In this question, we could have moved that 9x. We could have said minus 9x to both sides, but then you would have had on the right side, 7 minus 9 is negative 2, and then you got to deal with negatives, okay? So tip number 1 is to move the smaller variable, all right? Okay, let me go over another question with you. You guys worked yesterday on making sure you knew how to distribute correctly. So applying that to an equation, we scroll down a little bit. Again, if you're going too fast, you can always rewind the video. What if I give you a question that looked like this? Okay, so negative 9x plus 18 is equal to 4 times x minus 15. Okay? As soon as you look at this question, the thing that should stand out is that you have a distribution. Okay, so this is actually tip number 2. Okay, tip number 2 is always distribute and collect like terms first. Okay, so in this question, we're actually going to deal with that 4 before we do anything else. Okay, so from distribution, you take that number and you multiply it to everything on the inside. All right, the left side we didn't change. I'm just going to bring that straight down. Negative 9x plus 18 equals, okay, and then 4 times x gives us 4x. And if you need a calculator, use a calculator. 4 times negative 15, well, positive times negative is negative. And 4 times 15 gives you 60. All right? Okay, so now we're back to what we were in the previous question. Okay, so now looking at the variables, we have negative 9x and we have positive 4x. Now remember that the first tip was to always move the smaller one. Now in this case, you have -9 and +4. -9 is actually the smaller number. Okay, so that one's going to be the easiest one to move first. All right, so it's a -9x, so the way to move it, the inverse of -9x is +9x. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Make sure it goes lined up with the other x term. Okay, line across. Those are going away. Bring down leftovers. That 18 is still sticking around. 4x plus 9x gives you 13x. And then we still have minus 60. Okay. Now in this question, even though the x is on the right-hand side, that's not a problem. We can still do that. Not a big deal. All right, so now we have the x's on one side of our equation. So the numbers have to move to the other. So now we want to get rid of that -60. Okay, so the inverse of -60 is +60. Whatever you do to one side, do to both. Those go away. Bring down the leftovers. So we have that 13x still. Okay, 60 plus 18 gives you 78. And again, use a calculator if you need to, not a big deal. And now to get rid of that 13, divide. And you should end up with x is equal to 78 divided by 13 gives you 6. Okay. The fact that the x is on the right-hand side is not a big deal. That's perfectly fine. Okay. So that's tip number 2, is always distribute and combine like terms first. All right. It should kind of stick out as soon as you see the question. All right. Okay. I would like you to try a question on your own. It's going to look a little bit complicated. I'll get you started on it, but then I want you to complete it. All right. So the one I would like you to try is this one. So 3 parentheses 3x minus 4 is equal to 1/4. Now don't get scared with the fraction. 32x plus 56. Okay. Now I know some of you guys, as soon as you see that fraction, you kind of just shut down and you just don't know what to do with it. Fractions are not super difficult to deal with. All right. We're gonna do the same thing. Right? It's a distribution. You see, there's 2 distributions going on, right? So we're going to do them both. So I'm going to do this one with you, and then you can complete it. So we're going to take that 1/4, and we're going to distribute it. Okay. Now, when you're multiplying with a fraction, that's the same thing as doing division. So realistically, what we're doing is we're doing 32x divided by 4 and 56 divided by 4. Again, use a calculator if you need to, right? It's not a big deal. So when you distribute the 1/4, 1/4 times 32, same thing as 32 divided by 4, gives you 8x. Okay? 1/4 times 56, or 56 divided by 4, gives you a positive 14. Okay? And then we distribute the other side, which I'm gonna let you do on your own. So again, take the 3, distribute. Okay? And then keep going. I want you to pause the video at this point, see if you can finish this question. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. All right?